began to coalesce in the Lighthouse Faith book when I was researching the book, because the book was really just called God as a Living Reality. And then, dark times in my life, and there was this old grainy photo of a lighthouse that had been in the room of my friend's house for years. And
Wow.
I looked at it, and all of a sudden I realized that God is telling me I'm always with you. And so the lighthouse became an emotional attachment at that point. But then I realized it was just the structure of the Ten Commandments that I was trying to show people in this book. That the beacon of the light of the Ten Commandments was the first commandment: I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me. And that I had learned from a sermon that you can't violate commandments 2 through 10 without first violating number 1. So all of a sudden now, from a scientific point of view, what you see is a closed system. There's a seminal point by which all the elements in the system must relate to first, and then second to each other. Well, this is the Ten Commandments, but more than just the Ten Commandments is just as a set of rules and regulations. It is a description of who God is.
Yeah.
And so we are made in God's image, so we can be more of who we are. We're living out our true identity when we live according to those commandments. And the number 1 commandment should be pointing us to the problem of idolatry, which is very rampant in our culture, in a sin-based people. And that's why the Bible warns so much about idolatry and making something else good things, but if they become your fundamental trust, they become idols. Family, friends, jobs, wealth, all of these things are actually pretty good things, and God does not deny us any of those things,
Right.
and they can be really wonderful things. But if they become your reason for living and your whole identity is based on them, like you say, your fundamental trust, then they turn into idols, and you can't enjoy them because you're so worried about them being taken away. But if you love God first, and that is the thing that becomes your fundamental trust, if Jesus is your fundamental trust, you can love all of those things so much better and enjoy them because you can enjoy them for what they are. That when the possibility of them being taken away from you can be saddening, right? But it won't be devastating. It won't be an existential crisis.
Well, I think about the man who came to Jesus and asked him what the greatest commandment was.
Yes.
And Jesus basically summarized the 10 commandments. He said,
Yes.
love the Lord your God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is like it.
Right.
So, you have the first 4 commandments that describe our vertical relationship, the other 6. And this has been taught that you have the 4 vertical and then the 6 horizontal.
Right.
Love your neighbor as yourself.
Precisely.
And like you said, I love what you said, that the 10 commandments really show us the heart of God. If we want to know how to please God,
Yes.
there's his heart. There's
Right.
what he desires for us, right there.
See, the problem is that we have a sin-based nature, and so what happens is we take a thing like do not commit adultery, and so we say, well, this is the Jimmy Carter thing, the lusting after someone's heart. See, this is the list of the external kinds of things, right? But Jesus made us understand that it's in your heart that sin starts, right? Do not commit adultery. But if I lust after a woman, if I lust after, that's the same as committing adultery in my heart. And Jesus wants our hearts, not just to bend to an external force. This is the difference between the Old and New Testament. You can have an external force that says, and I will not do these things, but your heart is still lusting after those things. Your heart is still committing sins. This is the difference between God as information and God as a living reality.